We started out when we were just a machine in the basement. When we moved into the garage, the big 13 by 19 garage, that was the first PTL office, and that. 10 o'clock in the morning we used to have a break, Bible break, we call it Bible break. And when we moved, we had the building dedicated and have the pastor come in. And we continued to have lunch break, 10 minutes before if you want to go. And that continued. But it just started out with prayer. Our move was all prayer. 2 years of praying before we moved for direction because we were just crammed for space. And each time, the whole thing was God making a provision.
Sure.
And I look at Tacoma Falls has been really instrumental in many ways helping us. We were out of space in the shop we were in. We had 2,500 square foot shop, and we were looking for a larger area, somewhere around 10,000 square feet in the local area, in the industrial area. And the prices were outrageous. We needed space, and we were invited by Walt Moon to this retreat. Anyway, met Harry Kahn. One of the guys said, he's a consultant, he can help you out maybe with your problem, with your business. That's what he does.
Sure.
But he does it for big companies. My first thoughts were, I heard the guy speak, and he's talking thousands upon thousands of dollars for consulting fees. And no way. And he must have looked at my face, turned white when he said, "Oh, can I come up and look at your situation?" And he saw me, I guess I turned white because I really can't afford this. He said, for a brother in the Lord, pay my airfare and put me up. And that's what he did. He stayed at our house and looked at the shop. He said, I never seen utilization of 2,500 square foot shop with a mezzanine that shouldn't have been legal. Taking the hair off the guy's head, it was so low. He said, for your product line, though, when he saw what we were doing, you don't need a big building with bigger expense. Harry Kahn, the guy who met at the retreat, knew Roy Thaxton, did some work for Roy Thaxton, who was a trustee of Tacoma Falls College. Harry Kahn said, I did some work for Roy Thaxton in Tacoma, Georgia. You ever think of relocating from North to Long Island? I said, no. He said, but think about it and pray about it. So he said, well, I'll get you in touch with this guy, Roy Thaxton. He has property down there. So he made arrangements. I met Roy Thaxton on I-85. Took me to T's, the restaurant in town.
I miss that
Took
place.
me over to the college. After meeting with him, that started the ball rolling. And then we rented a bus and 2 drivers so they could drive around for a weekend. And had the whole crew come down on a tour bus. And they really treated us so well at the motel. They had a banquet for us at the Cape Cottage, the college did. And all of the city commissioners and all that. I mean, like we were a Fortune 500 company coming into town. Treated us so well. The next morning, we got down here, Saturday morning, I think it was 7 or 8 cars lined up. Where do you want to go? Around town, we'll show you the town. They're treated so well. Anyway, they got back on the bus, went up north, and the phone call, what they think, everyone, thumbs up. 10 families and 3 singles came down. It has to be a God thing, because we got riggers, local riggers, prices for taking the equipment and getting on our trucks to get them down here, the equipment he offered. And they were $7,000 to $8,000 just to load them. Bobby, BJ, called up Ryder. He was able to, I think, for $7,500, rent 2 trucks for 2 weeks. Tractors, brand new, flatbed and a boxcar, 48-footers, for loading up the office and all the rest of it, all that stuff. And we actually rented a forklift and rigged it all on by itself. And then Bobby had a Class 1 license, which he got a year before, wanted to learn how to drive. Don't know why, but a year before he wanted to learn how to drive a tractor trailer. He got his Class 1 license, and we just happened to hire Al Zanoni in sheet metal and welding. And he had a Class 1 license from the military. But we had 2 drivers. And I think that was just Lord. Loaded them up ourselves, both trucks. And they went down, left 25 hours the first trip down.
Wow.
And as soon as they got there, unloaded, and they slept in a motel. The next morning, back up, pick up, start emptying houses, come back down, went back up. 3 trips in 2-week vacation time. Anyway, that's how they got down here. In fact, when we rigged the equipment and a guy from Mayflower move homes and stuff like that, helped unload the trucks. He said, I never saw packing so well organized. Not us. And then I think I might have mentioned that the actual weights on the truck when I went to the weigh station was almost perfect.
Sure.
And only maybe 1,000 pounds under the max.
Wow.
And that was it had to be God. I mean,
That's
we
God's
didn't know
faithfulness.
We didn't know. Hal Andrews, who's passed away recently, owned a bunch of apartments right off the Skyline. We were looking and met him, and he said, "How many apartments do you need? How many people are you coming down? 10 families." Well, when are you moving? And we told him, well, we have to do the work on the building here and that. He said, we'll put them up for you. He said, hey, he put his hand out. And I think within a week they had the ground being broken up. And when we got down here, only one of the apartments was not quite finished. And we had a little court with all the PTL equipment in it. Well, everybody come out of their apartments. Everybody made nice, good meals and set up some tables in the middle of the court because we were the courtyard. Wall PTL all the way around. And we had a real beautiful Thanksgiving party there with everybody in one place. In our own little courtyard, Yankee Court. All the walls classroom walls had to come down. All of the pipe system for the steam heat had to come down. Windows had to be taken out. Had to have air conditioning put in. We put $102,000 in reconstruction. Overseen by Fred Hansen, who knew the contractors in the area. And he just was such a tremendous asset to us. He took us under wing. He would come up to Long Island to see us before we moved. And he had known Harry Kahn from World War II business in Florida. Fred Hansen had a big shop doing government work in Florida. And Harry Kahn sold heavy equipment. And they had a relationship 25 years before. Hadn't seen each other for years.
Wow.
So all of a sudden these 2 guys are talking, and one was afraid the other guy would be steering us in the wrong direction. So they were bucking for it. And when we did move in, Fred Hansen had a desk in that office you're in now.
Okay.
And the recession hit when we moved here.
Sure.
And he would cut back to 32 hours for almost a year, and I hit the road trying to get sales down here. And we made it through, only by the grace of God and Fred Hansen's help and the college help. August 4th was officially of 1990. We were in recession. And all our work came out of New York. So I bought a Cadillac Brougham, really beautiful car, but with 40,000 miles on it. And started state to state and elevator company to elevator company. Put on a lot of mileage and picked up one here, one there. And we were just able to hold on until it picked up. All this time Fred Hansen was in that office helping us, guiding us. He was a good businessman. Knew what he was doing, we didn't know what we were doing. I think it was a little more than a year, probably. And gradually I picked up a job here and there, and a new customer, a new account. And introduced our part, the stuff we make, which was not seen here. But they didn't have the housing problem like New York did. But we were starting to get a little better with what we were doing. Because first off, everything was aluminum. We had just recently switched over to stainless. If we were with aluminum, we would never have made it down here. So a lot of things fell into place. The way I usually work is if the spec came out for a need somewhere, and that was even with the Port Authority bus terminal. It was a key switch, just a simple key switch. They couldn't get anybody to do it, and a little itty piece of aluminum with a spring in it, and gave us that job. Well, the same with the escalator controls. There was a spec that came out, so you just try to meet the spec, and it was approved. You got to make something to match what they need, and basically that's how you can get something to grow. If there's a need and you can meet it, that's how you get to work. He was part of our reconstruction crew, and he worked with us. And in order to increase sales, I was running all over the place and burning myself out. I mean, I don't know how we come up with the RV thing, but we come up with it, and he would travel the country, state by state, and he did that for a year. And he did pull in quite a bit of work through that year. It was in '93 we did well, we had a guy down in Atlanta who did etching. We'd send stuff down to him, and it was basically a one-man operation down there. And he decided to move west somewhere, I don't know where. And there was nobody else to do the etching that we could find. And I tried to see how he did it, and he wouldn't let us in his place. So I started looking at getting information on etching. But etching is all your electronics, all your boards are etched, all kinds of boards, panels and stuff. Anyway, for getting information, you need nozzles, you need this, you need that. Actually, right down the road here, on a guy's lawn was a piece of PVC pipe, 24-inch diameter, 3/4 wall, which is pretty big. I think I paid him $300 for it. Bought that down below there, and then bought caps for it, and just I don't use a computer, so I had my big drawing board down there and started designing it. And the thing that amazed me is the first time we tried it, it worked.
Wow.
But of course that's still working, I guess. Tom Ingram, who was actually a painter and an artist, he came to work for us, and he did most of the research for what kind of equipment needed for etching, and both of us worked out the details. Then I had I built the tank. Now what do we do with it? I had to build a place to put it. Then we built a place to put it, then we need a place to work the office. Then we needed another, actually, piecemeal in the whole thing. And it worked. The thing that amazes me, it worked the first time. And it still worked. Because again, that's a God thing.